Breaking down Arizona football, the Wildcats open Pac-12 play with a 20-17 win over the UCLA Bruins. I'm David Kelly, joined as always by Glenn Howell. U of A football class of 1985. And Glenn, we got a little bit of a curveball Saturday night with no Khalil Tate, although that was something that had kind of been brewing throughout the latter part of the week. Questions about his health and when he would be able to go. You know, it's funny, at Pac-12 Media Day, the duo of Khalil Tate and J.J. Taylor were kind of anointed as rush hour. Yeah. No rush hour here in Tucson on Saturday. The Grant Gunnell era began. And what I liked about Grant Gunnell, and it's really similar to what I saw in the Northern Arizona game, Glenn, and he's just got a lot of poise for a young freshman quarterback coming into having to play in that environment in your first Pac-12 start, and to be able really not to make any mistakes or any big mistakes.
Well, I think that Grant did a great job, and I think he knew that he was going to be starting probably last week. I think he knew about that. And I think that, you know, he handled himself very well. He didn't let the pressure get to him. He just looked really smooth, and I think that the guys rallied around him, and they were very comfortable with him.
And I want to show a couple of plays here that I really liked. I'll show my favorite play of his, and then I think what I thought was his best pass. We'll start here in the second quarter here, a 2nd and 11 play, Glenn. And what I liked about this is he's going to zone read here off the snap, and he just keeps his head up the entire time, looking at the field, and makes the quick pass, boom, the slant to Cedric Peterson. This goes for 15 yards and a first down. I like the way that he keeps his head up. And then late in the fourth quarter, that ball that he dropped in the bucket with his back on the end zone and a 3rd down to Bam Smith. I mean, we had mentioned that in the pregame about how we thought UCLA would utilize their backs out of the backfield. And Arizona, in fact, turned it around and beat them at their own game.
And Dave, you know what we said about Grant Gunnell, that he is a student of the game. And that's what it bared out to be, what it bared down. I mean, this guy really did the fundamentals of the zone read, keeping your eyes open, looking down the field, and looking to your options. And he did a great job. And then throwing that ball, dropping it in the bucket. I mean, that was just a perfect trajectory, everything. He does everything. And what he likes to do, I think, is that he likes to practice. He likes to practice on what he's doing, and that is what showed on Saturday night.
Well, I think he needs to practice a little bit more on some of those shorter throws.
The
Glenn.
shorter
he missed
throws,
a lot of those throws to the flat and a lot of overthrown passes during that game.
And I think he has a little bit of a short arm. You know, he's not all the way up, all the way to the top as most tall quarterbacks are. And I think those might be a little bit more difficult for him to throw.
Absolutely. Defensively, though, Glenn, second game in a row that the Wildcats have held a Power 5 opponent under 20 points. We hadn't seen that in 9 years, going back to the Mike Stoops era, with a couple of games against the schools from up north in Washington. And I want to concentrate a little bit talking about true freshmen and Grant Gunnell on the offensive side. But we mentioned a little bit of Kion Bars after the Texas Tech game. And I saw some plays from him in that ball game on Saturday night. It seems like when he is on the field, good things start to happen for this defense. Very early on, UCLA realized that he was a big enough kid and a powerful enough kid that they were going to have to double team him. And just to show a couple plays here, this is when things started opening up for those linebackers, when he was drawing double teams that allowed Tony Fields on a couple of occasions to slice through those gaps and be able to make plays at the line of scrimmage.
Well, Dave, this is where our defense is supposed to work. Our guys up front are supposed to take on the double teams and not let them get up to the next level. And that's what they were doing all day. You've seen Schooler getting he had 13 tackles, I think, and Fields had like 11. I mean, this is what we want our linebackers to do, to make all the tackles. They're making them closer to the line of scrimmage also, which I really like too. So they're tying up the offensive linemen and not letting them get to the second level.
Cats were really utilizing their defensive line kind of in groups. They would bring them in every other series. You would see those guys switch out, and I kind of liked that because it keeps those guys fresh out there.
They had to do that because DTR, he's running all over the place. The guy's running all over the place. I saw one time when Mason came out, he ran him all the way across the field. He was tapping his head, man. He was like tapping it down. So you have to be be able to be ready to be fresh against this kind of a quarterback, as he'll just run you right out of the game.
Now, we did notice that Jalen Harris did not seem to be on the field for those last 2 series. Not sure if that was an injury situation or not. I didn't see him get hurt, but it was curious that your best pass rusher is not on the field at the end of the game.
Yeah, I was kind of puzzled by that. I was on the sideline. I was looking on the sideline to see if he was injured, and he didn't seem to be injured. So I thought, I thought he should have been in there because you get your best pass rusher. He did get a sack. He was in there on a couple times. He was putting pressure on him, and I just wonder what the strategy was on that.
Yeah, Cats had 2 sacks in the game, but I call those riddle sacks. To me, those aren't really sacks. I call them run into the line sacks because you have a running quarterback who basically starts to run and doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage on those. But Friday, we thought going into this game, 2 important aspects were going to be turnovers and special teams. UCLA came in here with having taken away the ball 6 times against Washington State. They did not do that. Grant Cannell now 2 times out has not turned the ball over. That's going to be important now going on to the road, because I'm just going to kind of talk about what I've seen with other young quarterbacks in the conference, in particular with USC. Keaton Slovis played very well at home, then went to BYU and turned it over 3 times. Matt Fink played very well at home and then went up to Washington and turned it over 3 times. It's going to be very important for him to take that mentality, Grant Cannell, of taking care of the football to Boulder next weekend.
Well, what they're going to do at Boulder, I think they're going to bring the house on them. They're going to just bring everything on them and then let them force them to beat them on the short pass and read on the hot reads. And what also they're going to do, they're going to load the box. They're going to trying to force it on Grant to beat them. And that's what they're going to do. And I have confidence that Grant is going to be, I think he's going to be all right. I think he's a student of the game, so I think he's going to be able to handle that pressure.
Field position was very important in this game, Glenn. Matt Aragon had his best game of the season punting for Arizona.
He came through. I mean, you had the #1 punt return team in the country, okay? You had plenty of times that we could have kicked the ball and punt to their receiver, and we didn't do it, and we covered very, very well. We were down there, we were breaking down, and I was watching. I was right on the field, so I was really nervous every time we kicked the ball, and we did a great job. I think Matt did a great job. He got a high trajectory, and he also got the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, Kyle Phillips, only 2 returns in that game for 11 yards, and like you said, he put the ball in the end zone a couple times, and then he put it inside the 20 on 3 different occasions. So just an outstanding job by the kid out of Cienega.
This is what we want. This is what we wanted from him all year.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. All right, it is the Arizona Wildcats and the Colorado Buffaloes, as the Wildcats will head out onto the road for their first Pac-12 affair, and we'll be back to preview that game. It's actually an early start on Saturday. It's going to be 1:30 Mountain Time, so we'll be back to preview that for you early Saturday morning.